Hello and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's green. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at various Bitcoin mining stocks, their price action, and seeing if there's any good deals in the market. So because these are stocks, let's take a look at the CNN Fear and Greed Index. It's still down in fear, and as far as crypto fear and greed, it is still elevated high up into greed and is in extreme greed right now. Not going to lie, I'm a little surprised by that. I would have thought that it'd be down into high greed territory or a little lower, but Bitcoin has been having a little bit of a bounce recently, so we will see. Maybe that bounce will lead us to higher levels. But overall, since making that peak in late November, you can see we are having lower highs, lower lows, and this could be a peak in greed, just like we had in March. Are the markets going to go sideways or down for a few months? Something to keep in the back of your mind. I'll show this chart again. I do this for my stock videos, but it's worth paying attention to that on average around the time of a new presidency and inauguration, it is somewhat normal to have some sideways action for a few months or so, if that is to play out. Of course, as we look at these mining stocks, I think it's also important to look at Bitcoin dominance. And that is because in the prior two cycles, when the money that was in Bitcoin rotated into altcoins, it was also rotating in mining stocks. We see that reflected on the charts. These have acted like altcoins before, so we'll see if that happens again. And then this chart, I think it's just important to keep in perspective that when we do get these downturns in Bitcoin and in our altcoins, to keep in mind the bigger picture that alt season really just happens for a month or so near the peak. So up here is when we had alt season, up here is when we had alt season the last two times around. So just something to keep in mind. Are you able to handle the volatility of crypto? And if not, if you're going to get shaken out, then maybe crypto and investing in the crypto space isn't right for you, which is okay. But just do keep that in mind. If alt season's something you believe in and you believe you can make really good profits from miners, from altcoins, then just have some perspective and be patient. Moving on, let's go to the alt season index. And someone asked me a question. They said their alt year or their alt season index look different than mine, and make sure you're clicking on the yearly. So we're looking at altcoin year index, and this offers more of a macro perspective. So we do have a higher low right now, which should mean good deals are around, and Bitcoin's still in this yellow zone. And if it got down towards the bottom of that yellow zone, you see in the near future, at least it's around the high 80Ks. I do videos on that every week, so subscribe if you want to hear more about that. But in today's video, we're going to be running down the charts of a lot of these. Core Scientific went from the number 2 to the 3 spot, and because BitDeer has gone up a bit, then RIOT has gone down as well. So let's get into Bitcoin and then these mining stocks. Bitcoin, we were talking about this ascending channel, hoping it would break above it. Did get above the 1618 fib here. And that fib extension, you guys can see this. We drew a fib from our high to the low, and the fib extension, the 1618 right here. It did move above it a little bit, but if this is a local top, you could technically call that a fake out. If we looked at that on the weekly, you can see on the weekly, we never had candle bodies really closing above it. So that's what happened back in March, at least when we're looking at the Heikin-Ashi candles. So even back in March, we want to see on the macro time frames candle bodies closing above. Otherwise, it could be fake out territory. So it is possible that's what's going on. We do have a sell signal on the weekly. So that's a little bit of bearish news, but bullish news. You can see here that the 50-day moving average offered a little bit of support. Daily buy signal. You're just hoping now, if you do want things to be bullish, that we don't get rejected at the 1618 again. We'll take a quick look at Bitcoin dominance and it has some support and a buy signal. So it is possible we see lower prices in alts if there's rotation out of altcoins, out of miners into Bitcoin pretty soon. So just keep that in mind. It's not horrible areas of dollar cost average from what I'm seeing. It is possible we could see some deeper value though, based on what those charts are showing us. So Marathon Digital Holdings, what do we got here? Well, it is holding support at this 200-day moving average. Now you can see here, I have on the buy sell signal. I'll show you what that indicator is. 1020 MA crossover with Heikenhashi. Want to give credit. And so right now, the 200-day is holding support. You can see Mara has been in this giant wedge pattern, higher lows, lower highs, fake out territory over here. So right now, I like this value for Mara. And if you don't have the time to check for buy signals and you're buying in over here, great. I think that's awesome. If you were wanting to be more patient and look for some lower areas to get discounts, then I'd be looking down here at the 1760 level, somewhere around there. If it did break under, then the $16 level as well. So right now it did get above this wedge. It had a couple daily candles, but then came down. And you can see, just again, putting in perspective, when we put on the weekly, you can see it never truly got above, had that sell signal from the wedge. And right now, the 200-day moving average typically around the 50-week moving average. But we haven't had a turnaround yet. Another indicator, I'm not going to do this for all the charts, but another indicator you can use to see if we're going to have a turnaround soon is the stochastic RSI. You see on the daily, it was already bottoming. In the weekly, not quite yet. So once it starts to get down here and curl over, then it's possible we could be seeing a local bottom there. So still has little room to go there on the weekly. You can see there on the daily. It might come up a little bit before going down. We'll see. But let's add on let's just keep it simple. And then we'll run through a lot of these charts together. All right, BitDR, BTDR. All right. How's BitDR looking? So this one, yeah, you can see why the charts are, or why it's looking so strong, and it's the number 2 Bitcoin miner right now. So it was at this price of around $10 for a while, and then had this crazy movement all the way up to 15 and then down to about 290. So here it got to the 1618 fib extension, and it hasn't quite closed above it on the daily. So on the weekly, that's just going to look like a wick there. And if it does get rejected by the 1618, then you're looking back for that $15 as support. If you're wondering if it is the stay bullish, the 2618 is at around $34. Let's next get into Core Scientific. Core Scientific, we went over this in our last video, how on Market Watch, we took a look at it. Is it still up here? Yeah, we do still have it up here. So on Market Watch, you can take a look at the financials in the balance sheet. And something I noted with Core Scientific compared to RIOT and Mara is how the total assets, you see this around 100 million, 700 million, is less than its liabilities, which is not good. 5 times higher total current liabilities than about 2 times higher total liabilities. So I don't like negative ratios on stocks, assets compared to liabilities, especially when we have such positive ratios on other mining stocks. So I've been skeptical of this one being up here. Last time we looked at this, the number 2 ranked mining stock. So I'm avoiding it, at least for now, at least for this cycle. Someone brought it up back here, and if you got it down there, great. But as far as just value goes, if this is a go higher, take a look at the moving averages. We don't have a lot of TA to work with, but what moving average has it liked at its steepest value, the 100-day? So recently got to the 100-day moving average. That's this blue line. So if your dollar cost averaging near there and you really love Core Scientific, don't hate it. But if it does turn bearish here, then it's possible you could get further discounts here at a 1183. We have the 200-day moving average just spawning in at around 10 bucks and the 382 at around 890. Next, let's go over to Riot platforms. And as far as RIOT goes, still in its channel. You can see here we have this trend line from the two peaks. You can see the dates at the bottom. And this is what I'm talking about, how miners move like altcoins. Now, they don't always move at the exact same time that every other altcoin moves. So this is a good example. The peak of alt season was not at this time in February of 21. It was actually closer to early May and here. So if you hit your price targets, do consider taking profits. If we were to draw a fib here, look at that. Last cycle, it got up to the 1618. That was the peak for RIOT. So that's why we draw these fibs. It's based off the golden ratio. So just do keep that in mind when we're looking at these things. But right now it's holding good support. I like RIOT as a dollar cost average here. Not financial advice for you, but I might consider putting a little bit more into RIOT at these levels, at this $11 mark. So if it were to go lower, break underneath this, then boy, we could get some even better discounts at this 236 fib at the lower end of the channel, around the low $7, high $6 area. And next, let's go to CleanSpark, CLSK. And for CleanSpark, all right, let's take this fib. Let's put it back on log scale because we're not looking at price targets in a bull move yet. So CleanSpark, how about that? It's gotten right down to this higher low wedge that it's been honoring before. You can see here it does get underneath it. I didn't draw the perfect trend line, but if you're looking for good dollar cost averaging, there's a couple things to consider. One, we have this trend line. Two, we have this area being hit a few times before, kind of back here. So I don't hate this. Even if you're willing to wait for confirmation, then maybe you wait a little bit more. What I will say is take a look at this on the trend line. You can see it is honoring it. So after it had that little dip, it has come up. So CleanSpark here, not bad. If it did break under that trend line, maybe you could see it as low as the low $9, high $8 area. But a couple decent areas for dollar cost averaging as far as CleanSpark and RIOT goes. All right, next one. Let's take a look at IREX Energy. So overall, y'all are seeing that even though Bitcoin dominance is going up a little bit, that is giving us more time, more opportunities. And you have to ask yourself, let me just do a little segue. If you believe in the crypto cycle, the cycles that it has, if you believe in alt season, then now's the time to be putting your money where your mouth is. And I try to answer that essential question for myself, not for you guys, not financial advice. Is now a good time to buy? Because a lot of people, they get way too into predictions and stuff. And I'm hoping, like the last two cycles have shown us, that we're going to get an alt season for a month somewhere near these peaks. I'm hoping for that to happen. I'm betting on that happening. And if it doesn't, I'm willing to live with it. That's why I have a budget. I don't overextend myself, but I'm also not going to miss out on the opportunity to find it. So just wanted to put that out there for you. It's something to consider. If you were buying here and you're not buying now, then you should have never bought to begin with. I'm going to keep saying that. IREX Energy, Iron Limited. Let's take a look at this one. So at the 50-day moving average, it is having this nice little up movement, but if it does correct down a little bit more, it would still technically be a higher low, and it does have this trend line it loves, just like what we just looked at. What was that? I already forgot. Just like for CleanSpark, so many of these. So it is possible. If you dollar cost average here, don't hate it, but if you did want to wait and get in at the low $10, high $9 area, I think that's a good value area as well. TERWOLF, we got some Wolf fans that follow the channel. Got to talk about Wolf. Y'all love Wolf so much, I had to buy some myself. So Wolf right now, it lost this horizontal trend line support. We don't have to draw it, but you can see peak here and the lows. It lost that. It's coming down to the 100-day moving average. And you can see here, where's the 50-day? Well, not only could you draw a trend line even without the fib, but it's right around the sorry, it's right around the 200-day moving average at the 0.5. This is the 0.5 fib. That's what I meant to say. So TERWOLF, it could come down to here. If you DCA'd in here, cool, but I don't think we've had confirmation quite yet. Like I showed you before, you can throw on the stochastic RSI on the weekly, see if it's starting to flip positive. But if not, you might be willing to be more patient, get TERWOLF at $5 pretty soon, possibly, hopefully. Next, let's go to, we're going to skip a couple of these. Let's go to Cipher. I'm trying to go over ones that I've seen y'all talk about in the comments before. And if there's any miners that you like or want me to talk about more, maybe it's one I just skipped over, comment below. But I try to talk about the ones I know y'all are interested in. So Cipher is still in this ascending channel here as far as the peaks and the lows. It is at the 100-day moving average. You can see we have some peaks in the past, but if it loses that and we do go lower, then you have the 200-day here at around 475, and of course the 618 fib here at 370. So now's the time, make a plan. If these discounts do come in, or even the lower end of the channel at the mid-low $3 area, what's your plan? Are you going to DCA, and I'm just going to throw some numbers here, 100 here, 200 here, 300, 400? Have a plan, have a strategy, and know what you are going to do if you believe in a stock or an altcoin, how you are going to dollar cost average into that. All our plans are unique. You have to make your own. But again, don't out budget yourself. Make sure you're able to afford it. And we're not all here to become millionaires. You don't have to sell the house, take out a loan, all that. I do encourage smart investing. So in case any of these don't run during alt season, that you're not left holding the bags with a big loss of money. I don't encourage that at all. Next, let's take a look at BitFuFu. We haven't taken a look at that one. Let's go over to Bitfarms. Bitfarms, I know there's a couple of Bitfarm people that have commented before. So Bitfarms, as far as the fibs go, you can see it's losing these lows in the past. Now, it did come down, and it did get some support here. Okay, I wonder what we got at the weekly. No, the weeklies are still up there, so that's something. But it did get some support here, and if you're asking yourself, well, why is that? You can see the lows that we had back here. Okay, there's a couple of them, but it didn't make a lower low than here. So Bitfarms, it is a decent area to dollar cost average in, but do know if it loses these lows, then you're looking at the 382 fib at about $1.30 or so. So right here, not the worst area to dollar cost average in. And guys, I hope you're seeing there's some decent areas for these miners. If you've liked them before, there's some good discounts coming in. But it all depends on you. What do you believe in? And as I showed you with dominance, it is possible some of these can go lower. But where are you going to dollar cost average in? Because the perfect opportunity, it doesn't always come. And so that's why I personally like a DCA strategy, just so I don't miss it. And I'm willing to live with buying something 50 cents higher than the absolute dip, as long as I'm being smart about it. Next, let's do Bit Digital, and I think we'll call it there. We'll call it there at Bit Digital. Yeah, I don't think there's any others y'all really ask about. So last one, and then try to keep this under 20 minutes. So ascending channel, you can see Bit Digital, it's hanging on to its 200-day moving average by a thread, probably at the 50-week moving average. Yeah, you can see there the 50-week and the 100-week. So that's some good support right there. Not a horrible area for dollar cost averaging, but if it does lose that daily moving average that it's hanging on to, the lower end of the channel here at around 250. So some decent areas to dollar cost average in, but if Bitcoin dominance is going to continue going higher, then it is possible we see some of these guys come down to really low, deep value. Anyways, that's going to do it for today. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all those things, and are doing well wherever you are viewing from. Alt season isn't here yet. And like I showed you before, keep it in perspective. You will be happy if we do get another alt season. You will be happy that you were getting in at these levels when we had these deals. Most people, they are only interested when we're at these peaks. So try to get yourself a discount out there if these are miners or stocks that you believe in. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Take care.